Hey, Undead Heads, welcome to our podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Karen.
And I'm Steven.
And this is the Walking Dead cast, episode 14. Looks like we're doing an episode a day now. But, Karen and I are extremely excited today because we have special guest Steven Yeun on the show, who, as everyone knows, is Glenn from The Walking Dead. Hi, Steven.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on. We're totally stoked. So the show is a huge hit.
Yeah, it seems to be. Thank you. Thanks to the viewers. You guys have turned it into something that I didn't even know was going to happen, but thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, actually. Are you, are you surprised?
You know, I'm not surprised in terms of, I should have known, you know, in terms, I was a fan of this comic and fan of the whole project. I should have known. But honestly, as a realist, I would have never thought that going into it, you know. I would have never assumed for the show to be as successful as it has so far. But it's happened, so I'm happy with that. I try not to question it.
We kind of feel the same way because we started doing this podcast about 3 months ago, you know, before everything started rolling, and we love the comic, but we're like, all right, this is great.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you expect something like this that's so critically acclaimed as a book, and people are excited for it to just blow up, and but at the same time, you want to keep it cool. But I guess, but it's cool that it has. Definitely.
You don't have to be cool anymore.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
scream out loud.
Thanks.
So like I mentioned, we're both fans of the comic, and Karen and I, before we even saw any of the casting, we'd already picked Glenn as one of our favorites. I was trying to think about today why, and I think it's because Glenn he's really skilled, but he's also very humble and vulnerable. Like, he can step up and lead if he needs to, but he doesn't have anything to prove. And then when we saw your picture, we both, I'm sure you've heard this already, but we were just like, oh my God, they just picked him right out of the comic.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah. Thank Mom and Dad and Tony Moore and Charlie Adler for drawing something and creating something that looks similar to each other, I guess.
Do you... I mean, you also just kind of give off that vibe as a humble guy who's got his act together. Do you do that on purpose to try and be like Glenn, or is that just kind of how you are?
You know what? In terms of maybe the whatever the aura or whatever you might be talking about, I think it just comes from Korean values. You know, every step of the way, everything that's kind of come my way so far. You know, my parents always have, you know, sat me down and been like, you know, this is great and all, but don't let this get to your head, because the minute it does, you know, it could be taken all away from you. And it isn't, you know, you're not above this by any means. This is all something that you have the privilege of being a part of. So be happy in that sense. Don't be overly prideful. And that's something that I've always been taught, and something that I've always, you know, kind of adhered to. Thankfully, Robert wrote a similar character, and you know, it's something that I identify with. You know, as a fan too, I was excited. You know, obviously, me being Asian, I didn't really have many other choices to play in this TV show, but I'm glad it was Glenn, because it's somebody that I highly identify with. You know, you're kind of a kid, and growing up, you kind of want to prove yourself, and you kind of want to make your stamp on the world, and I totally see that in him, and it's so apparent now that this new apocalypse and this new kind of way of living has established itself. He really wants to, you know, be his own man, And at the same time, he's doing that with a breath of humility, and it's something that I definitely saw myself going through when I was around his age.
Did you actually get to drive that car that fast?
I wish. They did not let me drive that car that fast because there's a lot of money on that car, and they also didn't want me to die as well. But I did get to, I got to drive it a good amount. You know, I got to drive it into camp. I got to drive it while I was backing up with the zombies, and it was fun. I mean, they took out like the brake, like some sort of they took out the ABS. They took out the ABS so that everything you do was screeching of the tires. So, I mean, like, a normal car would not have functioned that way, but they made it so that everything seemed super badass.
Yeah.
It did seem super badass.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah, everything you just said about your parents, it doesn't surprise me because it really does show in just kind of the way you carry yourself. But it makes me wonder, so since you're, really appreciating being a part of this, what do you see for the future? Do you want this show to continue on for 10 seasons, 15 seasons?
You know what? For me, it's whatever's there. God willing, we go for 10 seasons. That'd be amazing. I think that's every actor's dream, and to have job security like that, that'd be amazing. But at the same time, you want it to be the best it can be every single season, and I think the actors that are part of it and the producers, Frank, Gail, Denise, all of them are going to make sure, and AMC are going to make sure that we're putting out the best thing every single season instead of kind of coasting on our laurels. So that's something that I'm really happy about.
Yeah, you're actually making me think. Like, I really like a show that knows when to end rather than go on and not, and kind of lose some of its fire. But also, after reading the comic, it's like I want to see every one of those scenes rendered.
I know, right? Yeah, no, totally. Me too, man.
Yeah. That leads me to another question. So I want to try to stay away from spoilers too much, but I've read that you've read the comic and that you kind of stopped once you started this role. But you read pretty far, so does having read that far give you a sense of security or what?
It does. I mean, in the grand scheme of it all, it's nice, but you never know how far this show is gonna delve into a certain timeline. We could be anywhere for any given amount of time. So it's nice, but at the same time, I'm not expecting for there not to be changes, and I wouldn't say that they're gonna make changes that would make fans angry, but definitely we might stay in a place longer than expected, or we might depart from a place much quicker than we thought we would.
Some characters may not survive that do in the comic.
I actually have no clue, man. To be quite honest, like, they don't tell us any of that stuff.
They don't.
And also, if I told you, you'd be mad anyway.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
We just delete it.
Wait, one more thing, Karen. I'm just curious. So that reminds me of Lost, how they would never tell the actors anything until they got their scripts. Is it like that for you guys?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, having a BTV, you have like a week. I mean, you're crushing these episodes out like in 8 days, and I think if you're worried about plot line, which, I mean, it's fair that some people might read on and be like, am I going to die or not? But if that's your concern, then maybe you might not be in the moment. So I think all the actors were so professional